I'm going to be gluing up 4 sets of legs for a mid-century console that I'm building. Now, I could glue up each of these legs individually, but that would be 4 separate gluing and clamping operations. It would take some time, and it would require a lot of clamps. I'm going to show you a better way where I do this in courses and do all 4 legs with 1 set of clamps. More effective, more efficient. I'm going to glue these legs up in 4 courses of 3 pieces of walnut. I'm using Type Bond 3 here because it has a longer open time. Now the reason why that's important is I've got 3 other sets of legs that I need to make to glue up and get ready before I can put the clamps on. Now I need to get a nice smooth coat of glue, which is where I use this spreader. Once I get this spread out, I'm going to put the course together like this. Kind of squeeze it a little bit to get a tack going. Now I'll move on to the next one. You might notice that there's a big ugly knot there. That's okay because this leg is going to taper from its full dimension here down to almost 1 inch around. So all of that wood will be turned away and it'll look great. So now I'm going to glue up this last leg and put them in the clamps. Now I've got glue on all 4 sets of legs, and now I'm using clamps to clamp them all up at one time. Flip this over. Now, put the last set on the other side of the block, and then let the glue cure for several hours. Now that the legs are glued up and out of the clamps, I've cut them square to length, and I've drilled a hole for this threaded insert. This threaded insert will be useful in 2 ways. First of all, it'll help me mount it on the lathe, where I'll turn this to a perfectly tapered leg. Second of all, it will help as I mount it to the cabinet, and I'll be able to bolt the leg to the cabinet. I'm going to use this instant bond glue to help secure it in there, and then get to turning. Got the leg blank mounted on the lathe now. The goal here is to turn a taper that starts at 2 7/8 of an inch and goes all the way down to 1 inch. And we want 4 legs that look identical. It'd be great if they were identical, but really look identical is where I'm going to aim for. So how do I make sure I get that proper taper? This little jig will help me. I'll show you how I use it in a minute, but I'm going to be able to get the 2 7/8 inch diameter up here, the 1 inch diameter down here, and then I'm going to connect the dots. Pretty simple, really. Good. Now that I've got this diameter established and this one, now I'm going to take my spindle roughing out tool and just create a straight taper between the two. Just think of it as connecting the dots. All right, got it roughly to size, scraped it off smooth. Now some sanding, get ready for the final finish. 3 more legs to go. The next step on the leg process is that we want the legs to be mounted to the console at a slight angle. Now to do that, we're going to drill a mortise for them at a slight angle using this jig to establish that angle. Now, you'll notice that we have a 2 7/8 inch Forstner bit here. which is exactly the size, the diameter that we turn this leg to. So I've tested this on a piece of scrap plywood. I know that the location is right, the angle is right, and if you'll notice there's a hole in the center of the mortise, a divot, and we'll be able to drill through that for the bolt that will hold this thing on later. Let's get started on the real product. Using the same jig, I'm drilling a hole through the board for the bolt that will later attach to the leg. So now you can see how the angled mortise allows the legs to seat properly for this cabinet. So I'm going to bolt this leg on using this threaded insert later on, but we're also going to use a glue. The glue joint is best made, especially when you're talking about face grain to end grain, with hide glue. It's an old luthier's trick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply the glue to the end of this leg, wipe it off, allow it to dry, and then we'll bolt and glue it in place later. Now I'm going to allow this glue to dry, and as it's drying, I'm going to go and assemble the carcass. Later on, we'll put the bolt through here, we'll apply some more fresh hide glue in the mortise, put the leg in place, screw it down, and that joint will be solid for years and years to come.